Hi everyone! Today I'm going to share with you a lesson that I created this year for kindergarten through second grade. I was tasked with creating a lesson for diversity, and I did create two different lessons, one for K through second and then a second for third through fifth. I decided that I'd focus on my K through 2 lesson today because I thought it was so fun, and I really learned a lot and implemented a lot of changes just to try to make it run a lot more smoothly. There were a lot of, kind of glitches along the way, so I was kind of trying to figure out what can I do to figure this out and make it more efficient the next time I go into a classroom. So I was really, this lesson really evolved as I went. So my lesson is called It's Okay to Be Different, the Diversity Rainbow. It was created by myself with the help of my supervisor, my site supervisor, Jen Parmeter. We decided to target two different lessons, one for K through 2 and grades 3 through 5, just because the developmental levels are so different between the two, the attention spans are so different. So we thought it would be really great to focus on approaching this topic developmentally to these kids. The mindsets and the behaviors that I chose were M3, a sense of belonging in the school environment, BSS4, demonstrate empathy, and BSS2, create positive and supportive relationships with other students. So this is the first lesson that we'll be teaching. The diversity lessons get taught every year based on the needs assessment that is given at the beginning and the end of the year. We really try to assess out what the kids are trying to or are struggling with, but diversity is one of those ones that we really try to focus on every year because it's going to be something that they're experiencing, every day and in the future. So some of my learning objectives for this lesson were that students would learn about diversity and learn about being accepting of others and celebrating differences between yourselves and others, as well as creating a diversity rainbow to visualize how being different makes us beautiful. During this, students will be taught to be kind and inclusive and really celebrate the differences that they have. So there's a few different materials that you'll need for this lesson. The main book that I used was this incredible book, It's Okay to Be Different by Todd Parr. Todd Parr is an incredible author. He does a ton of children's literature that focuses on inclusivity and being different and how it's okay and that makes you who you are, and that's cool. So I really love this book. It's really, the illustrations are familiar with the kids. It's kind of funny, there's different parts of this book that, the kids just really jive with. So that's the book that I used for both of the options for this lesson. You will need a poster board with a rainbow template, and I went ahead and made one like this. I went ahead and I sectioned it off for the rainbow pieces and the Play-Doh, just so when kids came up, they weren't struggling with finding the rainbow shape or where to place their rainbow. So a little more structured for those younger ages. I also labeled the colors of the rainbow. I think that maybe it might be better to simplify it to just red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, because the indigo and violet seem to throw a lot of kids off, but was a pretty minor thing. So this is what I made, and I used this in both of the options for this lesson. You can also use Play-Doh. I don't have the Play-Doh on me because it's still at the school. But what I did is I took these little mini containers of Play-Doh and I took out all of the colored Play-Doh and I replaced it with white Play-Doh. Put the lids back on and put them back. And then I separated the different colors of the rainbow, so the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, or indigo violet, into little baggies so I could have those off on the side. And then if you're not going to go with the Play-Doh option, I also made these rainbow pieces. And so what I did is I just traced that rainbow template and I cut it out and painted the pieces of the rainbow. And then I also labeled them on the back so you could tell what color you had and where it would go on the poster board. So I have orange 4, so I would follow orange, number 4, and that's where my piece would go. So that's how that's kind of designed to work. And then if you do decide to choose go the rainbow piece route, I would suggest tape, just so you can stick the pieces on there. The Play-Doh will stick to the poster board, thank goodness, but you will need some tape for the rainbow pieces. So when I was creating this lesson, I did a lot of research on like what is like important to teach kids about diversity. Like, why is this going to be an important lesson? You know, what is the point of teaching this lesson? And it really was in, you know, focusing on, you know, being different. You know, school is a time where students are being influenced by each other, and it's important to, you know, keep those differences alive and celebrate them, because it really makes us unique and makes us who we are. And I really do think that this lesson helps them to explore their differences and accept their differences and then celebrate them at the end. So to begin this activity, I would first ask the students their experience with diversity. Who has ever heard of this term diversity? Does anybody want to give any guesses to what this term might mean? And then if nobody gave any examples, I would give examples. The one I used a lot was the playground. I think of diversity a lot with the playground, because when I go outside, the students aren't all just playing basketball, right? Some of them are out in the field playing soccer, some of them are playing tetherball, some are playing hopscotch, some are playing on the playground. So it's a very diverse, you know, situation out there. And I think that really resonated with the kids, because they're like, yeah, I don't play basketball at recess, you know, I'm playing on the playground. So I really tried to use examples that the kids could relate to. After that, I would introduce this book. It's Okay to Be Different. The art teacher at the school actually had a poster that was inspired by this book hanging outside her door. So a lot of the kids were familiar with this illustration. We're like, wait, I've seen this before. Where have I seen this? So they did kind of know what to expect from this book. I asked kids, you know, to describe what they think the book might be, what they're seeing on the cover, and really just, you know, get a good guess of what they think is going on. I would then talk about the book, and I'd be like, well, this is, you know, written by Todd Parr. He is an author that likes to celebrate our differences, and I think that this book is going to help us, you know, really think about our differences and really celebrate who we are as different people. And then I would begin reading the book. This book is a really easy read. I mean, the words or sentences are pretty short. And it's funny, you know, the kids get a kick out of it. And it's really inclusive too, so it's okay to need some help. I couldn't read that backwards. It's really inclusive, and I really loved this book because it brought out all different themes. The first one always got the kids. It's okay to be missing a tooth, or 2 or 3, and then, you know, they would always raise their hand, I'm missing a tooth, I'm missing a tooth. It's okay to have wheels. You know, some people would raise their hand and be like, my uncle's in a wheelchair, my brother's in a wheelchair. It's okay to be small, medium, large, and extra large. It's okay to wear glasses. This one was probably the biggest kick with every single classroom that I read. It's okay to eat macaroni and cheese in the bathtub. The kids were always like, oh, what? It was so funny. But it was such a great book. And there was a page in here. Here we are. It's okay to be adopted. And that one was probably the one that I got stopped on most, because there were a few incidents where we did have some students who were adopted, and they were able to share their experience, and I think that's so profound to be able to share such a huge experience like that. And then there were incidences where students would ask me, what does adopted mean? And it kind of stopped me in my tracks, and I kind of realized that I had to be a little more prepared, even though I assume that, you know, kids might know what these terms mean. Some might not, and so I should really, I kind of stuttered and stumbled over that explanation, and I'm pretty sure I used the word birth in there, and I don't know if that was appropriate or not, but the past is in the past, and hopefully they have a better grasp of what being adopted is. We'll never know. Okay, so after I was done reading the book, I would ask the class to think about any differences that they might have. or things that they might think are different. I would ask them, like, okay, are animals all the same? No. Okay, give me some examples of how animals are different. What about, plants, sports? They would come up with different examples. And eventually we would come back to humans. Are humans the same? No? Okay. How are we different? And then I tell them, one thing I think of when I think of diversity is a rainbow, because of all of its different colors. That's what makes a rainbow. A rainbow is all the different colors. It wouldn't be the same if it didn't have all those colors. So I would introduce the diversity rainbow, and I would pick it up, and I'd be like, I made this rainbow last night because I was so inspired by differences and celebrating our differences. And I would hold this up and be like, so what do you guys think of my rainbow? And it was so cute because so many of the kids were like, it's beautiful. And I'm like, okay, that's so cute. But what is it missing, Like, oh, the colors are missing. I'm like, that's right. Like, what makes the colors special? And they would, give different examples of how red is special or how blue is special. Then I would ask them to help me fill in and create our own diversity rainbow. So this is where we get into the more interactive part, and I'll split this up into the two options of the Play-Doh and the rainbow pieces. For the Play-Doh option, I would recommend this option if you have a longer period of time. So like 30 or more minutes, I would probably suggest it. And I would also probably suggest it maybe for like first and second grade, maybe not kindergarten, just because what I experienced, the Play-Doh was kind of chaotic in a sense with the kindergartners. But if you do choose the Play-Doh option, it's super fun and super interactive. Have the kids set up their desks so they're not like risking getting the Play-Doh into the carpet or anything. Then you're going to pass out those mini Play-Doh containers that had the white Play-Doh in there. When the students have them, make sure to discuss the expectations with the Play-Doh, no throwing this, no putting it in your mouth, no rubbing it into the carpet, this is going to be fun, but you have to respect the Play-Doh and respect your classroom. So once they have their little mini containers, have them open it, and when they open it, they're going to see the white Play-Doh inside instead of whatever color the lid was. And so we would discuss the reaction. Well, it's just Play-Doh, right? Isn't it going to be the same? It's all the same for the rainbow, right? So now we would discuss how the colors are different, really instilling, no, it's differences are what's going to make this beautiful. We can't just have the same color, it's going to be boring. So once we have had that discussion kind of discuss the surprise of having white Play-Doh instead of colored Play-Doh, I would pass out those measured out pieces of colored Play-Doh, and I would instruct the students to roll out a snake or a worm into a thin piece so we could lay it onto our rainbow board. And while they're doing this, I would ask them to share something that makes them different or makes them special. I think that sometimes maybe that might have been too vague for some of the students to grasp, because a lot of them were sharing the same thing. I like rainbows, which was great. I mean, I was happy that they were at least willing to share that with the class. But maybe focusing on like, what's your favorite thing to do at home? Or what's your favorite game to play? What's your favorite toy? What's your favorite thing about yourself? I think that would really focus on, give them a little bit more of an idea of some things that they can share about themselves that are different from their friends. So once everybody has rolled out their little rainbow snake, I will go around and to each table, and I will have the students listen while the student places their Play-Doh piece onto the board and share what makes them special or different. It was kind of hard to capture the attention of students while we were doing this, just because this Play-Doh option was pretty time consuming. And so I would try to figure out some more ways to maybe engage the class a little bit more while we are going around and putting our rainbow pieces on the board. So once everybody has put their rainbow pieces on, I'll turn the board around and I will show the board. Sometimes we didn't have enough pieces to cover the entire template, so our rainbow wouldn't be complete. And this was just another way for us to explore differences. I'm like, sure, our rainbow doesn't look like a typical rainbow, but look how beautiful it is. We all came together and shared something that makes us different or special, and we created this beautiful rainbow, and I think that's so special. So once that has happened, we'll discuss what the rainbow looked like before and what it looked like after, and how it managed to look like it does now. And it was because we are different and we shared our differences with each other. So that's the end for the Play-Doh option for right now. That was just a brief description. For the rainbow board, for the rainbow pieces, it's a little more simple. This is a lot quicker and could be done in a circle. I think the circle, like on a carpet, keeps the kids a little more involved during the process. And just, I still struggled with attention during this, but I think it was a little bit better than the Play-Doh, at least. Just having everybody in that circle format was, just gave them a place to focus rather than everybody sitting at their desk, and me traveling around the classroom with this board might have been just, too much. So for the rainbow board, we would have students sit in a circle, and I would pass out these pieces that I have, and I would just say, pick a color. If you don't get your color that you want, it's okay, because you're still going to get a really cool color. All these colors are going to help us make our beautiful rainbow. So some of the kids were kind of bummed out that they didn't get the color that they wanted, but eventually everybody was okay. This is going to help us create something beautiful. So once everybody has their piece, what I would do is I would pass the board around in the circle and hand out tape, and I would have the students tape their pieces onto the board and share one thing that's special or different about themselves. This is where the template came super in handy because I had traced out all of these pieces. All of these pieces are labeled with the number and the color that they go with. So even though there was some unfamiliarity with the indigo and violet, as long as it was labeled, the kids were able to figure out where it was at or where it needed to be. And so once that was done, the same thing kind of occurred where all the pieces the pieces that had been put on the board didn't make the complete rainbow. And that was just another example for us to explore the differences. And I'm like, well, it may not be complete, but it's still beautiful. Look at all these beautiful differences that we were put together and made this diversity rainbow. So I really focused on, you all came together with your differences and made this rainbow. So after doing this, we would revisit the term diversity, and I would ask students what they've learned. Why was I here today? Why did we read that book earlier? A lot of the examples that kids would give, we learned about differences. We learned it's important to be different. And it garnered a lot of those understanding answers that I was looking for, rather than, we were building a rainbow or we were playing with Play-Doh. Which I was hoping to avoid, and I think I did. I really did enjoy the Play-Doh, and I know it made an impact on a ton of kids because that was so interactive and so fun, but the time constraints that I had, it just, it didn't seem very feasible to do, especially with the younger kids who need a lot more structure. That's when I really opted for these rainbow board pieces. Towards the end of my time at the school, I was doing probably 7 lessons a day. So I was going back-to-back lessons, so I didn't have a lot of time to, remeasure out the Play-Doh and put it back into the containers. So these rainbow pieces were, a saving grace in that situation. So to close this activity, we would give examples of, the things that you learned about your fellow peers. What's one thing that you learned about your friends today? What's one thing that you learned about yourself today? What's one thing, that we see, why is being different important? Why do we see differences as being important? So we really refocus on visiting that diversity piece, and I would focus on, give a reflection myself as saying, I have learned so many different things about you guys, and we have created such a beautiful rainbow. Look what we've created. This is beautiful. I can't believe that we've all come together and shared our differences to create such a beautiful rainbow, and really celebrate the fact that they, were able to garner the strength to share something that made them special or different with the class. So this activity reached about 110 students. Only because this was focused on, well, I guess it was actually a little bit more. It was probably about 160 students. Just because I forgot to add in the kindergarten data there. So I'm going to get this piece out. So this this lesson reached about 160 students, focusing on those kindergarten through second graders. The lessons were 20 to 30 minutes. Towards the end of my time with this lesson, I was really in a time crunch, and so those 20 minutes appearances really made more of an appearance, and I really had to figure out how to implement this lesson in such a time crunch, and so that posed quite a challenge, but I really think that I managed to do an effective job in it. So some of the ways that we would collect data with this would be the needs assessment that we would give at the beginning and the end of the semester, just to see where students are at as far as needs. Diversity is something that I think is going to be addressed regardless of needs, just because of the day and age that we live in. Diversity is such a significant topic, and I think it's so important to address this at a young age, and to address accepting differences in yourself and in others, so we can just have a more accepting society when these kids are older and part of society. So with attendance, we visited each classroom from kindergarten through second grade once, so we weren't able to guarantee the attendance of every student. What makes me hopeful that these lessons will be effective is that they teach diversity lessons each year. So next year they will get diversity supplements, or at least be supplemented in diversity, through lessons throughout the school program. To avoid taking that disciplinarian role, some things that are really important to do during this lesson are to set those expectations, especially with the Play-Doh option. You want to be respectful of the teacher space, and bringing Play-Doh in is kind of a risky thing. So you really want to tell the students, this is going to be fun, but you have to, be respectful of your classroom and be respectful of the Play-Doh. I don't want to see it in your mouth. I don't want to see it going across the air. I don't want to see you rubbing it into the carpet, And as long as I stated that, the students were very respectful. Some were very hesitant and upset that, they only had a short amount of time to play with the Play-Doh. But as long as you set those expectations, there was not any misuse of the Play-Doh as far as I experienced. One thing to consider is attention span. A lot of the difficulties I did have were with kids just paying attention when it came time for others to share what made them different or special. So I'm still trying to figure out what would be a better way to implement this lesson so that everybody pays attention and stays engaged. Especially with the kindergartners, they were just not interested in spending 15 minutes listening to their classmates share one thing that made them special or different. So the kindergartners engagement was one thing that I really struggled with, but I think I managed to get there with these rainbow pieces, and sitting in that circle was a huge help. So that was my diversity lesson for kindergarten through second grade. It was so much fun to create and so much fun to implement, and I definitely think, I'm keeping these rainbow pieces, I'm keeping this board, I'm keeping that book. Like, this is going to be a lesson that I'm going to implement for sure in the future. So I will attach the lesson plan if you guys have any interest in implementing it in the future, and if you guys have any questions for me about how I, address challenges or how I created the rainbow template or the rainbow pieces at all, just shoot me an email. This was a lot of fun to do, so I hope that you all enjoy watching this video and learning about this lesson that I created. Well, I hope you are enjoying your quarantine days, and I will hopefully see you around.